Impacts of the oil industry. Economic importance of the oil industry. The production of crude oil is vital to the global economy because so much of our modern society is completely reliant on its use as a fuel. The main use, of course, being as petrol or diesel for our cars. Big oil companies and corporations have a lot of control over the price of crude oil. This gives them a lot of influence in the world economy and politics. And like it or not, crude oil and oil as fuels is going to be with us for the foreseeable future. Countries that are able to produce the oil and sell it onto other countries will hold a lot of political power because every country needs to have a regular supply of oil for it to be able to function. And so a country's ability to cut off the supply of oil to another would be absolutely devastating. This graph here shows the price of oil per barrel in US dollars. You can notice at 2020, 2019, there's another big crash. This is because of the COVID epidemic. Environmental impacts of the oil industry. Everyone is aware of the effects of burning fossil fuels on our climate. Once burnt, a fossil fuel releases CO2 into the atmosphere. This creates a blanket effect, warming our planet at an unnatural rate. This is known as global warming. The melting ice caps are devastating, not just for polar bears, but for humans too. When solar radiation hits snow and ice, approximately 90% is reflected back out into space. But as the global warming causes more snow and ice to melt each summer, the ocean and land that are underneath this ice layer are exposed to the Earth's surface. And because these layers are darker in colour than the white snow and ice, the ocean and land will just absorb the incoming solar radiation and then release this heat into our atmosphere. This causes, again, more warming. A more immediate effect on the environment is oil spills. The largest oil spill in history took place on April 20th, 2010. It was caused by an explosion on the oil rig Deepwater Horizon, which is located in the Gulf of Mexico, 66 kilometers off the coast of Louisiana. The oil well, over which it was positioned, was located on the seabed 1,522 meters below the surface and then extended a further 5,486 meters into the rock. On the night of April 20th, natural gas surged through a concrete core placed over the well so it could be used again later. It was proved to be too weak to hold the pressure. And because of this, once the natural gas was released, it was ignited, and this resulted in an explosion which killed 11 workers and injured a further 17. 2 days later, April 22nd, the oil rig had capsized and sunk into the ocean. It is estimated by BP that 1,000 barrels worth of oil escaped from the damaged well itself, although the US government officials estimated it was more likely to be 60,000 barrels. The images on the right here show the huge scale of the fire. Since the use of fossil fuels can be so problematic, let's take a look at an alternate fuel. Would hydrogen make a good fuel? Here are some pros and cons. When combusted, water is the main byproduct. This is far better than the fossil fuels, which produce pollutants such as carbon monoxide and sulfur dioxide, alongside the main culprit, carbon dioxide. The energy released by a hydrogen fuel cell is given out as electricity, and very little efficiency is wasted through heat, as opposed to the internal combustion engine, which is most commonly used in cars, which will lose a lot of energy and efficiency to the loss of heat. We can actually generate hydrogen by renewable sources like wind power, wave power, and solar power. So why haven't we already switched to hydrogen as a fuel source? Well, to make the fuel cells themselves, CO2 is released in the production of them. This is obviously counterproductive. Another major issue is the hazardous nature. Due to the low ignition temperature of hydrogen gas, it is readily explosive and flammable. The transportation and containing of hydrogen gas is also difficult, as it is prone to leaking, and pressurized containers are difficult to store. Along with CO2 being a problem with the production of fuel cells, they're also expensive to produce because they require expensive metals like platinum. How to determine the energy per gram released by a burning fuel. The spirit burner experiment. Shown on the right here, we have the setup for this experiment, and on the left side you can see that there is a basic method to follow. And thank you for listening to my presentation.